ride, but TikTok said a gator drove a Jeep through the blinds. Florida man's at it again with fireworks and a goat, and someone married a ghost in a Dollar Tree coat. Hey, what in the Walmart rapture is going on? Aliens dancing in a Waffle House song. Karen's got a taser in the checkout line, and Dr. Oz just adopted birds to fight off crime. I'm just sitting here scrolling my jaw on the floor. The internet's a circus and I can't take no more. Yeah, when it's wildin', there's a raccoon in the sink. Someone robbed a Wendy's just to steal a frosty drink. A pastor's gone viral yelling about the end is near, while folks ride hoverboards in wedding gear. Yeah, what in the Walmart rapture is this mess? Florida's a movie, but it's filmed in VHS. Someone fed meth to a squirrel named Dave, and now he's in a cage just throwing rave.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Saturday Mornings with Mo. It's bigger, longer, more absurdity, more advice columns, which some of the things that people are grappling with. Interesting. Our first story, well, this case just keeps getting weirder and weirder, and it doesn't seem to be coming to any sort of conclusion that makes any sense, and probably won't, in all honesty, until we get to a court date or start getting some of the documents out for this case. But Emmanuel Haro's dad, Jake Haro, has been speaking out amid the search for his missing child, presumed no longer alive. Now, Emmanuel Haro's dad is maintaining his innocence nearly a week after Jake Haro and his wife Rebecca Haro were arrested for the murder of their 7-month-old missing son. Now, the 32-year-old spoke out, telling the Orange County Register that the allegations made by authorities against the couple were, quote, not true at all, end quote. I want to talk about it, but I can't, Jake continued in an interview that was published on the 27th. Referring to instructions from his attorney, I was told, don't go to the press. During an interview where you're talking to the press. This is 4D level chess, sir. This is an Uno reverse on logic. Now, Jake, along with Rebecca, was arrested and charged with the murder of Emmanuel, as well as filing false police reports August the 22nd, and is currently being held at Larry D. Smith Correctional Facility in Banning with a $1 million bail set. Now, the father also shares a 2-year-old daughter with Rebecca and a 7-year-old from a previous relationship, and told the California outlet that he's been, quote, completely cooperative, end quote, although that seems like an oxymoron with authorities. Now, he also addressed his past criminal history, which is indefensible. What he did to his daughter is indefensible. So I really don't care what he has to say about this, but let's figure out where he's gonna, make this, not as bad. Let's figure out what his mitigating factors are, because that, deserves 2 dams given in, in August. In 2023, he pled guilty to child cruelty over a 2018 incident in which his 10-week-old daughter, yes, 10 weeks old, 2.5 months old, was reported to have multiple bone fractures, retinal hemorrhages, and brain injuries that have left her permanently disabled. Now, in the recent interview, Jake told the Orange County Register that he wanted the case to go to trial, but was unable to afford legal fees. He probably had access to a public defender, so again, don't care. Leading to his guilty plea, noting that the sentence, 180 days in the sheriff's work release program and required attendance at a child gross person treatment program, was fair. He maintained that the occurrence for which he was charged was an accident. I was sick of court, he said, alleging somehow they magically convinced me to take this damn plea deal. Yes, people care about you enough to try to conspiracy against you. No. Like I tell Lori Vallow all the time and Sarah Boone, no one cares about you, sweetheart. Now, however, a representative of Riverside County District Attorney's Office Communications Division told E! News that there was no plea agreement with their office in the 2023 case. The defendant pled directly to the court, a DA information specialist John Hall said in a statement. In any case where a defendant pleads to the court, like this one, they enter guilty pleas to all counts, and the judge decides and renders sentence. We strongly opposed a plea deal to the court in this case. Now, E! News previously reached out to his lawyers regarding Emmanuel's case, but has not heard back. As for his wife, Rebecca, Jake also insisted that the 41-year-old is innocent. The media is killing her, he said. She's a beautiful woman. She loves her children. Now, even so, Jake admitted that he understands the scrutiny that he and his wife are under. The allegations are horrendous, so of course people are going to be riled up, he said. God is with us. God did not return a comment as to whether or not he's on these people's side. I'll wait for his representative Bigfoot to talk to me about it. If there was one thing Jake could say to his 7-month-old son, he said, "I love you, buddy." Now, in a statement to Orange County Register, the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department declined to comment on Jake's interview. "We're not going to comment on statements made by the suspect," the statement read, "nor provide details about the investigation." While Rebecca is currently being held at the Robert Presley Detention Center, she similarly echoed her husband's sentiment. "I will not give up," she told a reporter from Southern California News Group per its publication Press Enterprise, August 25th. "I want to be out looking for my baby." So again, this timeline, August 14th, Rebecca reported him missing. The 22nd, they were both arrested. The 27th, details about alleged, torture that this child was going through come out. The 27th, again, there were estimates as to when this final incident in his life possibly happened. And during the same day when these details came out, the dad decided to give an interview. Now, I say all this, and in the court of public opinion, these guys are cooked. But in the court of law, we do need to maintain, even for people that, give us all the sus feelings, a presumption of innocence, and the case must be able to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt by the state. So if the state can prove that these people are the monsters that they are alleging, then prove your case fully, completely, make sure that you don't do a crappy investigation, and then let's put these monsters behind bars forever. That being said, this guy, the way he tried to minimize the fact that he stole his daughter's future with an accident, I read that as human garbage, like on a human level, but I will give him legal presumption of innocence. Sounds like a douchebag, but legally, I have no opinions until the case is actually argued. Well, let's say a prayer and wipe a tear for Laura Owens, because it looks like one of her avenues of, fraudulent maternity is has cut the pipeline. Online flea market bans the sale of ultrasound photos to prevent pregnancy fraud. Well, Laura Owens, what is she going to do? Mascari, Japan's leading online flea market, has decided to prevent the sale of ultrasound photos on its platform to prevent people from using them to commit pregnancy fraud. Now, selling ultrasound photos of unborn babies on a flea market app is, admittedly strange, but Macari never even considered taking action against the practice until one person noticed the high number of ultrasound pics and positive pregnancy tests that were being listed on the platform and posted pictures of them on X. asking other users what they thought about it. Now, the post went viral, attracting hundreds of comments, most of which agreed that only two logical answers were pranking or trying to scam someone into thinking they had gotten you pregnant. Now, while the first one could be regarded as possibly a funny prank to the right person and increasingly not the funniest prank with a lot of people silently dealing with infertility issues and things like that. It seems like a prank that has lost its funniness the older I get. That could just be personally that I know a lot of people that have struggled having children and the pain that comes with that, so I no longer find it funny. To be fair, I don't like if you think they're funny, I'm cool with it. I just notice I'm more sensitive to it lately, not to the point that I think it needs to be outlawed or whatever. I just don't find it particularly funny anymore. Now, the other is definitely, potentially fraudulent or could go into fraud territory and legal complications. Pregnancy scamming recently led McCary to ban the sale of such items on the flea market site. Now, according to Sora News 24, which directly translates to pregnancy fraud, there was a saying that I'm not going to, in Japanese, is the act of women pretending to be pregnant in order to demand money from a man they'd previously been intimate with. The scammer either requests money to end the fictitious pregnancy or blackmails the, you know, the felonious father to be, as in not really, if they're married. Now, apparently, items like ultrasounds, photos, and positive pregnancy tests are frequently used by scammers. Now, I understand that this is going to block one avenue, but if you have access to Adobe or any sort of, Photoshop thing, I mean, you're going to be just as susceptible to this. I do like that, the company is standing on a principle or at least covering their own butts by not wanting to facilitate any of this. But if you have Photoshop or screen cap grab, I mean, who knows? I don't see this stopping. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do it because I lack technical skills, but I'm sure people with more tech skills would do it. Now, although there is no clear evidence that any ultrasound photos that were sold on this platform were used for scamming purposes, the controversy stirred by a single X post was enough to get them banned from the platform. Now, the company didn't specifically, outline any reason, but it added ultrasound photos to its list of inappropriate items that are no longer allowed to be put up for sale effective September. So, dang it. I guess Laura Owens will have to learn, tech skills. What in the Walmart rapture is going on here? A judge awarded a family nearly $1 billion for a botched delivery of a baby at a Utah hospital he blasted as the most dangerous place on the planet. What in the hell did they do to this woman's delivery? A Utah judge awarded a family nearly $1 billion, the largest award in state history, after the hospital was so negligent in handling a baby girl's delivery that she will likely suffer a lifetime of disabilities, according to a report. Anissa Zanakalia and Daniel Mikalia and their 5-year-old daughter Azalea were awarded $951 million by Judge Patrick Coram earlier this month after he found that Steward Healthcare was liable for the botched delivery of the newborn in West Valley City, Utah on October 14th, 2019. Jim, I'm going to be drinking some tea and honey or maybe a hot toddy later on today, because I want to do some longer videos on some of the true crime documentaries that are coming up. Now, nurses assigned to the mother, Anissa, at Jordan Valley Medical Center then owned by Stewart, were so green that they had barely finished their training, and they gave the mom to be a dangerous dose of a labor-inducing drug while the on-call doctor slept in a nearby room, the family lawsuit filed in 2021 alleged. Now, this is Pitocin is incredibly powerful drug, and it can stimulate intense contractions, much more intense precipitous labor, which means you have a very rapid labor, youngest, most feral. So it can be very, very dangerous if you don't know how to titrate for the particular person. If you give too much, very quick, very rapid, very aggressive labor can be absolutely it can be stressful for the baby, it can be stressful on the mom, and it can lead to a lot of health complications that are not necessary. Again, I'm not a doctorologist. I have been in labor 6 times. This is the only expertise field I have, not as a doctorologist. And, listen to your own OB. Don't listen to like a crazy redhead on the internet. But I will tell you that the labors I had that started naturally were not as intense as the ones started or induced with Pitocin, but that's just my personal anecdote. Now, Azalea wasn't delivered until more than a day later with a long overdue C-section. Now, the mother would have been better off delivering this baby at a bathroom in a gas station or in a hut somewhere in Africa than this hospital, the judge said in an early August ruling. Literally, this was the most dangerous place on the planet for her to have given birth. The person Azalea was to be, the person she deserved to be, is trapped inside a brain-damaged child, Coram said. I cannot think of anything more profound, total or complete than that loss. Now, the astonishing damages awarded were the largest in Utah's history, the Salt Lake Tribune first reported, citing lawyers for the family. But the family must now attempt to collect on their award from the embattled hospital chain, which is currently in bankruptcy as it owes billions to various creditors. Now, the lawyers hope that they will be able to collect at least the punitive damages against Stewart or half the total award. Now, the parents have been on a short getaway in Salt Lake City away from their Wyoming home when the wife went into labor on October 12th, 2019, and she was forced to deliver her baby girl at a local hospital, the suit said. But nurses who had only just finished their training the day that she was admitted pushed excessive amounts of the labor-inducing drug Pitocin for hours, despite alarm bells like the baby's blood pressure rising, and the fact that the drug wasn't progressing the labor forward. Usually there are protocols, there are time limits. If your labor has stalled, you are kind of on a ticking time clock, especially if they've broken your water. Because of sort of bacterial and infectious concerns, that if your labor isn't progressing more aggressive, up to a C-section might be considered, because you are on a ticking time clock, just with things having to happen. Like, again, not a doctorologist, but I have been in the maternity ward 6 times. And the baby's blood pressure dropping, the fact that the heart rate was probably experiencing deceleration, should have been a red sign or a red flag. Now, when nurses finally told the on-call doctor about the baby's alarming blood pressure and heart rate and the mother's fever, the doctor simply went back to sleep, mere footsteps from where the labor was underway. Now, when she was delivered via C-section, she had a misshapen head, swollen face, and bruising and bulging along the front of her scalp, the suit claimed. The baby had to be airlifted to the Primary Children's Hospital intensive care unit in Salt Lake City for a slew of complications, including having been without sufficient oxygen during labor. She now needs 24/7 care because of regular seizures. While she is mostly nonverbal and lacks cognitive and executive functioning of others her age, doctors do caution that she may be never able to perform normal activities like driving a car, attending college, or working. Now, her seizures are so frequent that the family, including her younger sister, all have to sleep in a giant bed to be close in case one of the attacks happen while she's asleep. They take oxygen with them everywhere they go to help with the seizures. Now, the parents say they plan to get her a service dog to help with seizure detection. The She does receive physical therapy and occupational therapy and attends kindergarten for only a few hours a day. She had her life stolen. We all did. We had her taken from us, her mother said during a 3-day bench trial, according to Quorum's ruling. She's trapped. I know my daughter's in there, but she can't come out, and I think of that every day. Just heartbreaking. Now, Stewart denied the allegations and any liability in May 2024, Court Piper's show, but it was later that year that its lawyers asked to withdraw from the case on the grounds that they were no longer getting paid and were having trouble getting into contact with the company. Now, the judge approved their withdrawal, but the company never appointed new lawyers. The hospital was renamed Holy Cross Hospital West Valley after it was acquired by Common Spirit Health 2 years ago. Now, Stewart, the nurses, and the doctors involved did not return requests for comments from the Tribune. So, this is where I think that this is absolutely neglect, and I will speak again, like as the only thing I have any legitimate expertise on. You never feel more helpless, more out of control, or at least I never did, than when I was in the middle of labor. You're basically you are stuck in a bed. You are there for the duration. One way or another, this baby is coming out, but you're not really in charge of things. Your body, everything else, nature, the teaching hospitals that I always seem to end up in. It is a really, really sort of kind of not to be all spiritual, but a very primal kind of out of body experience. And you are relying on these people to have your best interest, to give you the correct care. And it is terrifying because I did have a near death experience with one of my deliveries. And it is terrifying when you realize that you can't trust the people that are in charge of keeping you alive. It is terrifying. That being said, OB is one of the most litigious fields in the medical industry. It's hard to get OBs that, can cover their medical malpractice. So I know this is a multifactorial issue that I don't have the big brains to fix, but it's scary when you can't trust medical professionals, whether it's in the maternity ward, in the ER, in urgent care. And I think it's becoming a more common thing that people are not just taking medical professionals' word as gospel. And it's cases like this that make us wonder sometimes. Well, I mean, internet douchebags are gonna internet douche canoe. An influencer has been accused of exploiting a remote cannibal tribe for TikTok views. Leave them alone. I mean, why why be a jackass? I don't get it. Why for clout? I really don't get it. He was eaten alive in the comments. An Irish traveler or Irish travel influencer, not an Irish traveler, which are something completely different in a UK context. But an Irish travel influencer and clout seeker is being blasted online after an alleged cannibal tribe, tone deaf TikTok stunt. I mean, well, I look, hell, I'm more of an expert than Judson Welsher is on labor, and I didn't even need blue paint. Just try to make contact with a cannibal tribe. Dara Tall captioned the clip, which boasted over 17.7 million views on the platform. I don't get it. Again, this is just, I don't get it. Now, the thrill seeker frequently shares footage of himself performing dangerous stunts for his nearly 750,000 followers on the platform. Past challenges have included staying awake for 48 hours, enduring 12 hours of Chinese water torture, but for this latest foolhardy feat, the Irishman decided to visit an unknown tribe in Papua, the Indonesian half of the island of New Guinea. Now, in the clip, Ta and a team of tourists, a local guide named Demi, are seen cruising along a river in a wooden boat as indigenous locals whoop and holler by the banks. Now, as the crew approaches, one of the tribemen points his bow and arrow at the vessel. I mean, good luck. I think they're pointing like bows and arrows at us, bro, one tourist said anxiously. Seriously, this is terrifying. They're huge bows, seconds Ta, who tries to wave at the locals in an apparent attempt to signal that he means them no harm. When that failed, he tried to offer them a bag of salt as a peace offering, which might be culturally significant there. I've got salt, Tall declares as emptying his bag into his hand and presenting it to one of the tribal leaders, who is seen sporting a loincloth, and holding bow and arrows. Unfortunately, the jester only succeeded in pouring salt in wounds, so to speak. After tasting some of the granules, the indigenous bigwig spit them out in disgust and apparently clutched his bow defensively. Well, he doesn't look like he liked that, exclaimed Tall. All right, guys, let's move back maybe. We have to move, the guide chimes in. We are really not welcome and it's dangerous. As the boat retreated from the bank, Tall said, not gonna lie, that was absolutely terrifying. Again, why just leave everyone alone? These people obviously do not want, your salt or to be bothered. I don't get it. I don't get clout chasing. I don't. Well, I mean, and talking about having your words come back to bite you in the ass when you're trying to, maintain that you're the only innocent one in your family, this chick, this absolute heifer who wrote the, equivalent of an O.J. Simpson If I Had Done It book, has just had her words keep coming to bite her in the behind all the time. A professor's wife called him an STD before his, red rum style, execution red rum style, incident, but she denies that she was ever involved in a plot. Sure, Jan. Sure, Jan. Wendy Adelson admitted that she's called her, law professor ex-husband derogatory names, including an emotional terrorist, dark lord, and even an STD. But that doesn't mean that the 64-year-old mother of two had anything to do with the murder for hire plot that ended in Canadian-born Dan Markel's life, or ended his life, when he was shot and killed in 2014. Is what she's been insisting on the stand, according to the Tallahassee Democrat, Court TV, and YouTube's Surviving the Survivor podcast. I was not involved in any plot to kill Danny. Not at all. Never have I ever. She testified on Monday. Now, Wendy's mother, Donna Adelson, 75, the matriarch of a wealthy Miami family, is charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy solicitation to commit first-degree murder in connection with the July 2014 death of Markel, who was only 41. Now, Donna has pled not guilty to all the charges. She was arrested in November 2023, just as she and her husband, dentist Harvey Adelson, were trying to board a one-way flight to Vietnam, a non-extradition country. Totally randomly. They were going there on missionary work, I think, or something like Botox. Who knows? The Florida State University professor was shot twice in the head at point-blank range in his Tallahassee garage after bringing his two children with Wendy to preschool and then going to the gym, prosecutors said. He was rushed to a local hospital but unfortunately lost his life 14 hours later. Now, Donna is accused of masterminding a sinister plot to kill her son-in-law because he would not allow Wendy to move back to be near mommy and daddy after they divorced. Now, following their bitter divorce in 2013, Wendy and Markel were embroiled in a contentious child custody battle. Prosecutors allege that Donna, whose family owns a lucrative dental practice, was helping to fund the contract killing, estimated to cost more than $100,000, according to court documents. Now, Donna is the fifth person charged in connection with the Harvard Law School graduate's murder. In 2023, Donna's son, one successful Florida periodontist, Charlie Adelson, 47, was found guilty of the same crimes she is. Now, first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation to commit murder. Charlie's former girlfriend, Catherine Motabenya, and two men hired to kill Markel Latin Kings gang leader Luis Rivera and Sigfredo Garcia, the father of, Catherine's children, were also sentenced to prison in connection with the murder for hire plot. Now, in her opening statements on August the 22nd, one of Donna's attorneys said that there was no evidence that Donna had anything to do with the murder for hire plot, alleging that Charlie was, the mastermind. Now, Wendy and Markel had separated in 2012 after Wendy took their sons, Ben and Lincoln, to their parents' house in South Florida while Dan was away on a business trip. After divorcing in 2013, they were granted joint custody, with Wendy being required by a judge to keep the children in Tallahassee. On Monday, while Wendy was on the stand, the prosecutor asked her if her mother was very angry with Markel before he died. Wendy said yes. Wendy's like, "This is my bus and I'm going to back it up. Beep, beep, beep." She asked if Wendy hated him too, to which Wendy replied, "At certain points, I was very frustrated with him." Asked if she'd ever referred to Markel as an STD, Wendy said, "It looks like I made that analogy." Those are strong denials. Reading an iMessage that Wendy admitted to sending on February 26, 2013, the prosecutor said, "Danny is an STD. One wrong mistake marrying him, and this will never go away." "Is that what you said?" Wendy said, "Sure did." She said she didn't think she shared this sentiment with her mother. "I don't ever remember saying that, so I don't think it's something I said very often." Says the woman who, again, these women were both Jewish, and to hurt Dan Markel, who was also Jewish, wanted to dress up the boys in, struggling Austrian painter from the 1930s, 40s, youth, uniforms to really tick him off or have them convert to Catholicism just to hurt the dad. Again, these are dumpster fire people, and Wendy, I don't see you staying all that immunated for too long. I mean, again, not an expertologist, but the odds don't seem to be in your favor that you're going to get out of this unscathed, either, if not in the court of law, but in the court of public opinion, ma'am. I don't see your accounts trending upward. Well, a frugal gourmet has been caught. Let's see what he tried to do. Frugal gourmet settles sleazy smex charges. With a trial only days away, Jeff Smith, TV's Frugal Gourmet, has just settled a lawsuit brought by 7 men who claimed that the chef was predatory, not a JPEG, but a PDF boop, 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 file, who SA'd them when they were teenagers. Now, the terms of the financial settlement between Smith, a Methodist minister, and the men were not disclosed due to a confidentiality agreement, but there is an excerpt from a lawsuit filed last year in a Washington Superior Court. While we prefer Marcella Hassan, the smoking gun did enjoy, Smith's book, The Frugal Gourmet Cooks American, but not for the recipe. We love the cover photo, which captured a beaming Smith who is a turkey in his lap, flanked by Boy Scouts. Oh, good Lord. So, yeah, looks like this is a terrible thing. And of course, he would be surrounded by Boy Scouts because stereotypes. A fugitive father hiding in the wilderness with his three kids since 2021 has popped up again, appearing to break into a rural town store in new footage. I don't think I've heard of this case, so let's figure out what's going on here. A fugitive father on the run with his children is believed to have been captured on a camera breaking into a business in rural New Zealand. That might be why we haven't heard of this very frequently. Now, Tom Phillips disappeared with his children, Jada 12, Maverick 10, and Ember 9, after an alleged dispute with their mother back in 2021, according to New Zealand police. Around 2 a.m. local time on Wednesday, August the 27th, closed circuit TV from a break-in at a local business in the small town of Pioi Pioi in the Watamomo district captured who is believed to be Marokopa father Tom Phillips and one of his children, per the New Zealand police. Now, police are investigating any connection to Phillips, while Sergeant or Detective Senior Sergeant Andy Sowers believed the store is one he had unsuccessfully targeted in November 2023, according to a news release. Now, footage of the incident shows two masked individuals outside the retail property shortly before it was burgled. We believe the pair in this footage are Tom and one of his children, Saunders said. They wait in the area about 13 minutes, having traveled in and out on a quad bike. Now, the pair can be seen loading things in on two containers on the quad bike before returning the direction they came from. We're appealing for information from anyone who might have seen the quad bike parked between Pioi Pioi or Marco in the Wednesday hours, early mornings. This is in this latest burglary, the offenders have left with a number of general grocery items. Now, Phillips is also already facing a range of charges, including aggravated robbery, aggravated wounding, unlawful possession of a firearm. The heart of this is the three children, though, who have been away from their home for 4 years. So the main focus is on finding them and returning them to their mother. Per the news release. Now, Saunders has revealed that police believe the suspect used a grinder to enter the store. He appears very comfortable just coming all the way into the town to commit a burglary, Saunders said, according to the outlet. He added there are a few questions as to whether Phillips had a falling out with whoever's been helping him. Does this mean he's potentially had a falling out with whoever's been helping him, or is he just that brazen and confident that he's quite happy to come and commit a burglary? I mean, I don't know. Possible. Before this latest sighting, Phillips was spotted with his children by pig hunters who filmed on a remote northern island in October 7th, 2024. Earlier this month, Phillips' family made a renewed appeal for him to come back. I miss you. I miss being part of your life, the missing dad's sister, Rossi Phillips, told a New Zealand journalist, Patty Grower, during an episode of his show. You're very special to me and I really want to see you again. Now, with tears in her eyes, she said she was making the appeal now in the hope that just maybe he's going to see this and he's going to come and know he can go home and that we're here for him and it'll be okay. I mean, again, I hope that the children are found safely. I hope that they get the help that they need adjusting to life back home. As for the dad, he seems incredibly selfish. But I don't know the whole story, and it is from New Zealand. So if more details come out from this story, I will keep my eyes open. But this just seems incredibly irresponsible to do with children, and I hope that the children are found okay and that kind of stuff. Well, I mean, I guess I guess it could be something that you just don't know. I mean, I think if you can't count on one hand how many people you might possibly could have poisoned, you might have an issue. Iran's Black Widow can't remember exactly how many husbands she's poisoned. I mean, if it's that many. 56-year-old Kulsum Abarki stands accused of poisoning and taking the life of 11 husbands over a period of 22 years, but claims that the number could be higher. She just doesn't really remember exactly. For more than 2 decades, she was able to get away with systematically marrying elderly men before poisoning them with diabetes, drugs, or industrial alcohol so she could inherit their possessions and dowries. Now, no one suspected a thing because these men seemed to die of natural causes due to their advanced ages and precarious health conditions. She also operated in various cities to avoid attracting attention on herself. Now, her spree began in 2000 and continued until 2023 when the son of her last victim, 82-year-old Gosmaria Babiel, became suspicious and alerted police. Now she stands accused of taking the lives of at least 11 husbands, but the Black Widow herself claims the number could be anywhere between 13 or 15. I don't know how many I killed. Maybe it was 13 or 15 people. I don't remember exactly, she said during her interrogation. Now, she was first married at the age of 18. The union was short, with the man suffering from mental health problems. Her second marriage wasn't much better. She was married to a much older man with children from a previous marriage who constantly laid hands on her and humiliated her. It was after her second husband's death that her spree began. She ran around telling people she was willing to marry elderly, lonely men. After confirming their financial standings, she would agree to marry them for high dowries. Soon after marrying her victims, she would start poisoning them with a dangerous mix of blood pressure medications, insulin, sedatives, and industrial alcohol. If that didn't prove lethal, then she would use pillows to smother them before moving on to another target. Now, because the killings occurred in different cities across Iran's Mazaratan province, authorities never traced all of these incidents back to her. 69-year-old Myriad Omari's death 1 month after marrying her in 2013. Ishmael's Bakashi's, died 2 months after their 2016 wedding. 83-year-old Ganjali Jimenez, look, I am mispronouncing all of these names, died just 43 days after marrying this serial, Black Widow. Interestingly, one of the woman's husband, Mashres Nemti, survived her poisoning attempt in 2020. He just kicked her out of her house without bothering to call the police. Now, her spree finally came to an end in 2023, soon after the death of her last husband, an 82-year-old, because his son became suspicious of her. Now, a friend told him that his own father had previously been married to a woman named her same name who had tried to poison him. And when he saw this widow, he recognized her as the same person. Although she initially denied the killings, the 56-year-old woman finally confessed, but continued to give conflicting accounts as to the number of her victims. Now, the indictment against her includes 11 counts of premeditated murder and 1 count of attempted murder. If found guilty, she does risk the death penalty. The case involves more than 45 plaintiffs, including heirs of her many victims, who want to see justice done. Now, prosecutors say she was motivated by the desire to inherit her husband's property and money, most of which transferred to her daughter's name. Well, I mean, daggone. That's a lot of dead husbands. What is going on? What the heck is wrong with you? You are a grown ass man and you are stealing a hat from a little boy. Like, what in the douche canoe is your problem? Ugh, like who? I'm sorry, but this is the kind of thing that would have me tasing someone if I were a cop, which is why I'm not a cop, because I can understand like jerk behavior and not respectful, not thinking of others' behavior from kids. I can have grace for that. I cannot have grace for adult a-holes who get so, Twitter-pated about sports balls that they're going to steal something from a kid. A grown man has been blasted for snatching a Camille Mastrax, look, something last name with I don't even know, hat from a little kid at the US Open, as the power of the internet has tracked down the innocent fan. Game, set, snatch. A vile, grown up adult douche canoe man sparked outrage after he was caught on camera swiping Polish tennis star Kamil Masadrax. Look, something Polish. No offense. Y'all, I have no idea how to pronounce this, and I'm not going to commit a hate crime that's going to get me taken to The Hague. So I'm going to say Polish last name. From an eager young fan at the US Open, the sophomoric scene unfolded Thursday afternoon as, Camille greeted fans and signed autographs courtside following his epic five-set victory over number 9 seed Karen Krasnov, according to footage from a live broadcast. Now, he took the hat off his head and attempted to hand it to a young boy in the stand when a greedy guy clutching a tennis ball snatched the memento away and shoved it into his wife's bag. "What are you doing?" the outraged boy screamed at the shameless caper. The hat hog ignored the devastated child and then thrust a water bottle into the star's face for another autograph. Now, Camille continued to sign autographs, oblivious to the shocking incident, until he finally realized what happened Friday. "After the match, I didn't record that my cap didn't get to the boy," the 29-year-old tennis star posted on Instagram with screenshots of the heartbroken young fan during the heinous moment. I mean, just an absolute douche canoe. "Hey guys, could you help me find the kid from my match? If it's you or your parents see this, please send me a DM." Camille noted he has enough caps to go around, follow up an hour later confirming that the boy had been identified and was impressed by the power of the internet. Fans and social media have since taken aim at the miscreant who turned a heartwarming memory into an ugly spectacle, calling him a jerk, a terrible man, and an asshat. Stealing from a child. "Really disgusting," one Reddit user wrote Friday. "What a total piece of ish. I'm glad it was caught on camera. Hope he enjoys his 15 minutes of infamy." Another Reddit poster said, "And winner of Douchebag of the Year award goes to this one." Oh, there you go. Oh, it's a large tennis ball. Look, I don't understand tennis. My mom is incredibly gifted athletically, and then she gave birth to me, a daughter who struggles just having a barely civil relationship with gravity. So my mom loves tennis and she tried to teach me, and let's just say that those lessons went terribly, terribly wrong. But she did try. She did try to teach me, and I appreciate that she, gave of her time. It was just a horrible investment. I so suck out loud at that, at coordination. Famed Sheriff Buford Pusser, who inspired Hollywood's Walking Tall, was actually a red rummer, investigators now say. Well, truth is stranger than fiction, I guess. A late Tennessee sheriff who inspired a Hollywood movie about law enforcement officer who took on organized crime likely took the life of his wife in 1967 and led people to believe that she was red rummed by his enemies, authorities in Tennessee said Friday. The finding will likely shock many who grew up as Buford Pusser fans and watched the 1973 Walking Tall movie that immortalized him as a tough, but fair sheriff with zero tolerance for crime, authorities said. There is enough evidence that if then McNairy County Sheriff Buford Pusser were alive today, prosecutors would present an indictment to a grand jury for the murder of Pauline Mullins Pusser, said Mark Davidson, the district attorney for Tennessee's 25th Judicial District. Investigators also uncovered signs that she had suffered from DV, throughout their marriage. Now, prosecutors worked with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, which began re examining decades old files on Pauline's death in 2022 as part of a regular review of cold cases, agency director David Rausch said. Now, agents found inconsistency between Buford's versions of events and the physical evidence, receiving a tip about a potential murder weapon and exhumed Pauline's body for an autopsy. Now, authorities acknowledge that the news may shock those who grew up with Buford as, the with the Walking Tall movie that he inspired or the 2004 remake. Many officers joined law enforcement because of his story, Davidson said. The sheriff died in a car crash 7 years after his wife's death. This case is not about tearing down a legend. It's about giving dignity and closure to Pauline and her family and ensuring that the truth will not be buried with time, Davidson said at a news conference that was streamed on Facebook. This might be an interesting news conference to cover. We might do a stream tomorrow if I'm feeling froggy with this press conference, because this is a pretty interesting story and I'd be interested to see what all they have. Truth matters, justice matters, even 58 years later. Pauline deserves both. The evidence does not back up Buford's story. The case dates to August 12, 1967. Buford got a call in the early morning hours about a disturbance. He reported that his wife volunteered to ride along with him as he responded. Now, Buford said that shortly after they passed Hope Methodist Church, a car pulled up and fired several times into the vehicle, taking Pauline's life and injuring the sheriff. Now, Buford spent 18 days in the hospital and required several surgeries to recover. The case was built largely on his own statement and quickly closed, Roush said. Now, during the re-examination of the case, Dr. Michelle Ravel, an emergency physical and medical examiner, studied post-mortem photographs, crime scene photos, and notes made by the medical examiner at the time, along with Buford's statements, and concluded that Pauline was actually more likely not shot outside the car, more likely than not actually shot outside the car and placed inside after. So the drive-by doesn't make sense with her wounds and possible, lack of alignment with bullet holes in the car. He also found that cranial trauma suffered by Pauline didn't match the crime scene photograph of the car's interior. Blood spatter on the hood outside the car also contradicted Buford's statements. A gunshot wound on his cheek in the case was a close contact wound and not fired from a long range, as Buford described, and likely self-inflicted, the medical examiner opined. Now, Pauline's autopsy also revealed that she had a broken nose that had healed prior to her death. Davidson said statements from people who were around at the time of her death support the conclusion that she could have possibly or most likely been a victim of DV. Pauline's younger brother, Griffin Mullins, said the investigation gave him closure. He said in a recorded video played at the news conference that their older sister died without knowing what happened to Pauline, and he's grateful that he will die knowing. You would fall in love with her because she was a people person, and of course my family would always go to Pauline if they had an issue or needed some advice. She was always there for them, he said. She was just a sweet person and I loved her with all my heart. Mullins said he knew there was some trouble in her marriage, but she wasn't one to talk about her problems. For that reason, Mullins said he's not totally shocked by sort of the revelations that have come out, at this press conference, but this will probably be something that we'll be looking at tomorrow because it's definitely very interesting. In, I guess, good news, but what took so long, this is something that we've known how to deal with for a while. Why older infrastructure seems to be struggling with Legionnaire disease is ridiculous in, a modern country such as America. At least in my personal opinion. I'll get off my soapbox now. The New York City Health Department has announced Friday that a deadly bout of Legionnaire's disease in Upper Manhattan has ended. Now, according to the agency, as of Thursday, a cluster of the illness in central Harlem that caused 114 cases of Legionnaire's disease. Of those who were all infected, 7 died and 90 were hospitalized. Now, 6 of those victims remained hospitalized. The health department also noted that about 90% of those who were stricken had a known risk factor for severe disease, which includes smoking, having compromised immune systems, chronic lung disease or other chronic conditions, or being 50 or older. Now, an investigation into the source of the sickness that began in July led health department to cooling towers at a Harlem hospital. The facility has since had its towers disinfected. However, a culture test taken from the hospital tower did come back positive earlier this month. The hospital then drained, disinfected, and refilled the cooling tower. Now, a cooling tower at a construction site in Harlem was sampled in July, and it too had received a positive result for Legionnaires. The site contractor completed a total remediation at the beginning of August. After extensive investigation, we were able to identify the 2 cooling towers that had genetic matches with the patient's specimens, according to Acting Health Commissioner Dr. Michelle Morris on Friday. We're working with building owners on next steps to protect the health and safety of Harlem residents and to prevent future clusters. Today marks 3 weeks since someone with symptoms was identified, which means New Yorkers should be able to breathe a sigh of relief that residents and visitors to central Harlem are no longer at an increased risk of contracting Legionnaire's disease. New York City Mayor Eric Adams said in a press release. But our job here is not done. We must ensure that we learn from this and implement new steps to improve our detection and responses to future clusters. Because public safety is at the heart of everything we do, and we will never stop working to protect New Yorkers. And myself from indictment, he said under his breath, just allegedly. Now, the New York City Department described Legionnaire's disease as a type of pneumonia caused by the bacteria Legionella, which grows in warm standing water. Now, symptoms can include muscle aches, fevers, chills, and cough. Cooling towers used in air conditioning systems emit water vapor that can spread the disease if the water tower system is contaminated. Now, the department further notes that it cannot be spread from person to person or by drinking water. Now, the city's largest outbreak occurred in 2015, during which 16 people died and 136 people got sick. So there you go. They've remediated at least for this right now, which is comforting, I guess. Well, I mean, don't be a jackass tourist. I don't know, just if you're on a vacation, you'd think you wouldn't be a jackass in foreign countries. You'd think you'd be, on your very best behavior to not look like a moron. And I'm probably going to get in trouble for that particular thing because that elephant is big, hot, mad. A tourist is slammed for popping a beer on safari and feeding it to an elephant. This should never happen. Peanuts only, please. A Spanish tourist is under fire after viral footage show him pouring a beer down an elephant's trunk at a wildlife sanctuary in Kenya. Isn't that their nose? Why would you do that? That's such a dick move. The obnoxious act reported by BBC has been slammed by conservationists as it's dangerous and deeply disrespectful to animals and the country's conservation efforts. Now, the incident occurred at Olgogi Conservatory in central Kenya's Liakape County. In a now deleted video, the man who uses the Instagram... Look, I'm not going to let... I think he did a dick move, but I don't want the internet to, go out and destroy his life. Is seen drinking from a can of Tuxter, a popular Kenyan beer, before pouring the remainder into the trunk of a bull elephant. He captioned the post, "Just a Tusker with a tusked friend." Oh, he thought he was clever. The footage sparked swift outrage across social media, prompting multiple investigations, including by the Kenyan Wildlife Service. Now, the Conservancy confirmed that the incident happened on their grounds, calling the behavior unacceptable, dangerous, and completely against our values. It's not my day. No. This should have never happened. We're a conservation and we can't allow this to happen, a staffer only identified as Frank said. We don't even allow people to go near the elephants. Now, the elephant in the video has been identified as Buppa, a large, long-tusked bull with a distinctive damaged ivory. Now, he is well known to visitors to the Conservancy as he was rescued from a mass elephant cull in Zimbabwe in 1989. Since then, he has served as an ambassador for the conservation project at, the conservatory. So he's been kind of an animal mascot, kind of really showing the importance of rescuing these animals, finding them, you know, places where they can be safe from poachers, from things like that, and apparently from dickhead tourists. Do we need to get like guards for dickheads? Like, do not be a dick to an elephant. I would think that this would be something that no one would have to tell you, but apparently it does. Now, the sanctuary insists that they take cases like this incident extremely seriously. In another now deleted video, the same man is seen feeding carrots to two elephants while saying, "We're on beer time." Additional clips show him at another conservancy where he hand feeds rhinos, another violation of park guidelines. He's also broken our rules, said Dylan Habili, of the other conservancy. He is not supposed to touch rhinos. They are not pets. Now, the man who describes himself as an adrenaline junkie, you miss said asshole, and entitled, on TikTok does not use his real name on social media accounts. His behavior has drawn sharp criticism from conservationists and wildlife advocates and just people who have common flippin' sense and think elephants are kind of majestic. Also loved Babar as a child, who fear that such viral stunts encourage harmful and, somewhat abusive interactions with wild animals, not to mention dangerous. They are wild animals. Dr. Winnie Karuru, a Kenyan biologist and elephant conservationist, warned that the stunt not only endangered the elephant, but also misrepresented the nature of wild animals to global audiences. About 95% of elephants in Kenya are wild, and it's wrong to have social media posts that give the impressions that you can get close to elephants and feed them, she told the BBC. There is no evidence that elephants can safely consume alcohol. Experts say feeding them foreign substances, especially something like beer, could disrupt their digestion, behavior, or overall health. People online were furious about his actions. WTF is wrong with humans, someone said on the BBC's Instagram. Another called out the man's disgusting behavior. Someone called for the man to be jailed from conservatories for life. I'd agree with that. While some insisted that he be jailed. People need to be in cages so animals can freely roam, another person said. People just ruin things. But stunts like this aren't just dangerous for animals. Incidents involving elephants are the fifth top cause of deadly selfies, according to a new study by the Barber law firm. Recently, a tourist in India who attempted to snap a photo of an elephant was left severely injured after being trampled and stripped, revealing his bare behind for all manners of beast to bear witness to. Good morning, expert. Well, thank you. I'm trying a new Saturday stream, so thank you. Next weekend, or it would be awesome. But go back to bed, get some rest. Yeah, don't be a dick to elephants. I don't know who needs to hear this, but this has been, your advice session with your unlicensed and unbonded life guru, Mo. Coitus interruptus? That's a felony or a misdemeanor. Arrest after coitus was interrupted. Florida man, are we shocked at all? Are we shocked at all? No, no, we are not. Florida man is the gift that keeps on gifting. A Florida man is behind bar for allegedly headbutting his girlfriend after she became upset when he began watching pornographic videos while they were doing the horizontal mambo. Police charge. Now, according to court documents, Donald Naples, 44, and the victim, good Lord, and the victim were engaged in consensual schmintercourse when Naples simultaneously began watching some hub, if you will. Now, why you would need to synchronize yourself to the video of a stepmom stuck in a washing machine, I don't know, but I'm not going to kink shame. I mean, different strokes for different folks. The 3 a.m. viewing session, however, did not sit well with a 50-year-old victim. The woman became upset by the defendant's actions and told him to stop, cops said, and she directed Naples to, take care of his own self. Now, during the argument that followed, Naples allegedly headbutted the victim in the nose, causing significant bleeding. The woman was transported to the hospital and treated for her injuries. The couple, investigators reported, had been in a romantic relationship for approximately 6 months. After being read his rights, Naples, seen above, declined to provide police with a statement. Since he has a previous battery conviction on his record, the charge against Naples was enhanced to a felony count. He was locked up in lieu of a $10,000 bond, and he's been ordered to have no contact with the victim. Now, he was arrested last year for crystal production or possession, but eventually pled to a reduced paraphernalia charge. He also has convictions for robbery, possession of the devil's lettuce, resisting and violation probation, along with apparently having to, take care of his own self because he decided to synchronize with the hub. Again, probably not a good move, but in the, mornings to mow petty express pipeline, stories like these are extremely lucrative. So continue humaning, weirdos. In a story that honestly, we need final form Jesus for this story. I refuse to believe that this is reality. I refuse to believe that this is a product of a benevolent, intelligent design. This cannot happen. We all need to take out class action lawsuits. And when you see this story, you'll be as vehement as I am.
The key keep its grove, thou glowing shrine of thirst traps, scams, and dollar signs. We chant in tones both grim and low, for virtue fled a long time ago. Kyrie eleison, Christe descendat, final form Jesus return in wrath. With six-pack glistening, sword in hand, he cometh swift to cleanse the land.
No, I refuse to open this Pandora's box of cinematic AIDS. No, we must fight against this. We must all unite. I refuse to let this be a reality. Twilight is headed back to theaters this October. Because you need more of this chick doing this exact facial expression for 5 hours. No. The Twilight Saga is set for re-release on the big screen this October as part of Phantom Entertainment presentations. The social media accounts of the film franchise, Phantom and Lionsgate, all teased the theatrical return of the vampire constipation fest that was Twilight, and hinted more information would be announced Thursday. Ugh. I'm on team neither. Team neither for the win. Forever Begins, the Post said, this October. On Thursday, it was announced that tickets are now available for screenings of all 5 films. Oh, good God. RSVP me hashtag no for any of this. October 5th marks the 20th anniversary of the publication of Stephanie Meyer's first Twilight novel, which sparked a pop culture phenomenon that we are all trying to forget. We are all trying to forget them. Stop it. Stop it. No more, no more sparkly vampires. I can't. And girl who has no emotion. I mean, I assumed as an actress, Kristen Stewart's face, the entire, 5 films. Happy. Edward, I love you. Jacob, I love you. I'm a vampire now. I mean, I assumed wrongly before this movie that actors were supposed to have multiple facial expressions, but she sure Keanu'd the hell out of that movie. That being said, Keanu can pull it off and she can't. Also, I need to catch up on my John Wick movies. Please tell me they called it McNugget. A baby born in a McDonald's parking lot is given a very fitting nickname. Oh, look at the squishy cheeks. See, this is when my ovaries are like, look, look at the baby. Remember the new baby smell and how beautiful and lovely they feel when they're all curled up like a little tiny potato on your chest and they're loving and they do that little sleep smile. And then I flash forward to youngest most feral and I realize my ovaries are not smart. They're manipulative. They're McLovin' their little nugget. A Michigan mother gave birth in a McDonald's parking lot, and the baby's nickname is a nod to the fast food chain. Elise Rotunda had her fourth child, a daughter named Matilda, on August 11th, and to honor the Golden Arches entrance into the world, they gave her nickname a slight adjustment. Now, they had always planned on calling Matilda by the nickname Tilly, but with her birth certificate reflecting the McDonald's parking lot as her place of birth, the family now calls her McTilly. On August 10th, which is also the mother's birthday, the mother was confident that she was in labor, but hospital staff insisted she wasn't and sent her home. Now, I know I'm going to opine, but let me explain to you how unpredictable labor can be, especially when you're on your third, fourth subsequent child. Again, my actual labor with youngest most feral was probably about an hour and a half, all told. That being said, and if you've had multiple children, it can go from 0 to 60 very quickly, which is what happened with me with youngest most feral. So that is kind of the conundrum you have when you have had multiple births is, okay, I know this isn't, consistent labor, but if I wait till things get consistent, I might not make it to the hospital. So that's fun. Things I'm okay to be, done with that season of my life. And then I see a baby photo and my dumb ovaries decide to try to speak up again. And I'm like, no, no ovaries, you are not smart. By the evening, her contractions were once again coming and warning her that it was nearly time to give birth. Now, around 2 a.m. on August 11th, her husband, Kevin II, called her mother to let her know that it was time, and she arrived at their house within 15 minutes so they could go to the hospital. She said the pain was something she had never experienced with her 3 other children. Her first was a C-section, and the other 2 she had had epidurals. The pregnancy was considered high risk as she's type 1 diabetic with a history of hemorrhaging, so she had frequent ultrasounds to make sure that the baby was safe, knowing there could be complications. So my husband's driving and he's flying. At one point, I think he was going over 100 miles per hour, she explained. When they realized they weren't going to make it to the hospital, he called 911 to get guidance as they pulled into the parking lot of a McDonald's in Schoolcraft south of Kalamazoo. She recalls that once they hit the parking lot, she clumsily got out of the minivan as her husband tried to help her get her pantaloons off. The 911 operator was yelling at me to get back to the car, and then officer showed up with his spotlight on us saying, "Okay, you need to get back in your vehicle," she said, laughing. I was just screaming no. There was no way I could do anything other than stand there or squat. And once you get into transitional labor where you're actually crowning, yeah, you can't tell a woman nothing. If they're comfortable, if the baby is okay, healthy, and you are okay, healthy, don't tell a woman she needs to do nothing different because you're not going to get anything, any sort of response. I remember Mr. Mo being slightly terrified of me when I was in transition with our first child. She suddenly felt something and well, there was her baby. I just reached down and she shared, I'm like, Kevin, would you catch her right now? In that moment, the baby fell right out into her husband's hands. Praise God, the second she came out, she started crying. The mom said it was the hugest sigh of relief for us, just knowing she was breathing and alert. Now, once they finally got back to the hospital, both mother and baby were determined to be, healthy. McTilly's blood sugar test came back normal, and she weighed 7 pounds 14 ounces. We got so lucky, the mother said. Now, the Post reached out to that particular McDonald's, but didn't hear back as far as, anything that they wanted to say. But look at those siblings. They are so excited. I will say that all of the siblings were really excited for their brother or sister until they realized that newborns don't really do much. And then by the time they do stuff, they start wanting to touch, the siblings' toys. So there is a very limited amount of time in my household that the baby is like the most favoritist because they're boring. They don't do anything but sleep and eat. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of the point. A woman discovered an avocado-sized brain tumor after losing her hearing on a flight. Holy goodness. Avocados are huge compared to the size of your skull. How did this happen? A woman found out she'd been living with a tumor for 15 years after she lost her hearing when her ears popped on a plane. Nicole Cutler, 28, was flying from California to Boston when she experienced the hearing loss and immediately booked an appointment with an audiologist, who then booked her an appointment for an MRI. Now, it revealed Nicole had a brain tumor that she underwent an operation to remove, but doctors were only able to remove about 50% because it was wrapped around her facial nerves. After MRI scans every 6 months in 2023, she found that the tumor had grown and underwent emergency radiation treatment to shrink the tumor. The therapy didn't work and the tumor continued to grow. So in February 2024, Nicole underwent a second emergency brain surgery to remove more of the tumor. Now she's being monitored with regular MRIs to see if the tumor is, stable or growing. It has been stable for, this period of time. Nicole, who works in finance from Boston, said, "When I was told I had a brain tumor, it was the scariest moment of my life. My whole body shut down. It was the scariest thing you can imagine, especially when you're just 22 years old," which I couldn't imagine walking through this when I was 22. I was such a moron, and I thought I was such an adult. I will say I wish I could go back to the confidence I had in my own intelligence and, making the right choices and life decisions that I had in my early 20s because I was sure I among all the people had figured things out, which is a total blind sort of stupidity that is gifted to us in our early 20s when we're blissfully unaware of how stupid we are. The tumor had been growing inside my head for 15 years. I was always very clumsy growing up. I had broken bones, vertigo, I was losing my hearing, which all makes sense now. Initially, I thought that my ears had popped, but when my husband tested an AirPod in my right ear and turned it up to the max, I still couldn't hear anything, so we realized something was wrong. Nicole says that with hindsight, she now realizes that she'd been losing her hearing for some time, but went totally deaf on the right side in May 2021. Nicole said, I had a hearing test, but I couldn't hear anything. The MRI results showed that I had a tumor the size of an avocado pressing on my brain. It was really a scary moment. I just want to go home to my family. Now, the surgery on July 27, 2021 lasted 12 hours, and Nicole was partially paralyzed on the right side for about 6 months, unable to walk or move her right arm. I lost all my balance and couldn't walk for a while. I am so sorry, Just a Milkmaid. Cancer is a dick. I recently lost a family member to it, and it is the biggest dick, and I wish we could figure it out. You'd think we could figure it out. If we put all of our effort in, I think we could take the bastard out. Cancer, YouTube. After I recovered, I went into outpatient where I had physical therapy, facial therapy, speech therapy, and occupational therapy. Now, after the operation, a biopsy revealed that she had an acoustic neuroma, a benign tumor that grows on the hearing and balance nerves. It was even more aggressive than the first. I knew the risk. This time the damage was permanent, says Nicole, who still only can hear out of her left ear. Now, due to the loss of mobility in her face, she underwent a nerve graft in August 2024. So they took a nerve from her left foot and put it on her face. Basically, they removed the sensation nerve from my left foot and leg in hopes of rebuilding my smile. That meant relearning how to walk again with new limitations and continuing, facial therapy to, really work on that nerve and that muscle. Now, doctors have told her if the tumor does show signs of growing again, they will simply remove the whole thing. After her surgery, Nicole made a pledge to run all 6 major marathons across the world for brain tumor awareness. She ran the Boston, London, Chicago, and New York marathons and is planning on running the Berlin Marathon in September to raise money for brain tumor charities. Nicole said, I may never get my full smile back, but I'm learning to smile fully with my heart, and with each procedure, each mile, and each moment, I'm slowly and steadily working to bring back what was lost. This journey has been brutal. I've lost parts of myself physically, emotionally, and spiritually, but I've also found something deeper, strength, purpose, and a powerful sense of community. I'm not just running for myself. I'm running for the entire brain tumor community, for patients facing impossible decisions, for survivors rebuilding their lives, and for research fighting for a cure, for families who have lost someone they love. I'm fighting for all of us. Well, awesome work for her, putting this out there on a platform. Death, pain, loss, illness isn't something easy to talk about, isn't easy to walk through, and to pay it forward to show just how strong that all of these, cancer warriors are, I say good on her. I mean, running isn't my jam, but what a great story. And we need some of these stories once in a while to get us through all the Lord Chippy that I go through in a week. Well, there are some organs we can live without. The Kardashians? Douchebags? Forget emotional baggage, you're hauling around spare parts. Turns out you don't need all 78 of your organs to get through life, which actually comes in handy when surgeons have to start making cuts, literally. Here's the astonishing truth. For many of these internal components, a truly functional existence is not possible and often surprisingly robust, said Dr. Something, a minimally invasive surgeon at Northwell's Staten Island University Hospital. Well, what can I get rid of? The spare tire? Can we, show my abs? Just ask Louise Altis Isidori, who had 7 organs removed after doctors discovered her ovarian cancer had spread throughout her body. She is now in remission and living a mostly normal life. It's a testament to the human body's astonishing capability for adaptation and modern medicine's ingenious interventions. He broke down 10 parts of your body you can live without, including two that can be swapped for a bag. Well, interesting. Well, first is the appendix. We kind of already knew this one. Uh, Think of it as the intestine's dusty attic is largely useless in the modern world. Now, scientists aren't totally sure what it does in human, but evolutionary theories suggest that it once helped digest plants when humans were more herbivores. Removing the small worm-like pouch usually has no long-term effects, and patients don't need meds and often bounce back fairly quickly. The gallbladder. Uh, I mean, the only time I've ever heard anyone talk about a gallbladder is when they need it removed. Okie dokie. All righty.
There's your manly husband in this lumberjack.
I am to praise my manly husband's lumberjacking. And that's not a euphemism. He's actually been chopping wood all morning. This tiny sac stores bile, which helps break down fats during digestion when you're not eating, since the liver produces it nonstop. After removal, the liver simply drips bile directly into the small intestine. While some might experience digestive adjustments, the body quickly compensates within a few weeks. Your kidney. I mean, there you go. These bean-shaped organs filter your blood, remove waste, and balance your body's fluid. We have two for a reason, but one is sufficient for most of us. After losing a kidney, regular checkups are important, but lifelong medications usually aren't needed. One kidney is usually more than capable of filtering your blood and keeping you healthy. Your stomach. Well, I mean, I kind of assume you needed a stomach, but there you go. The stomach is the body's internal food blender and stores food before breaking it down for digestion. Now, if it's partially or completely removed due to cancer, ulcers, or weight loss surgery, food just goes directly into the small intestine, but digestion changes dramatically. Lifelong supplements, especially vitamins, are essential, along with careful eating to manage nutrient absorption and dumping syndrome when undigested food moves too quickly into the small intestine. Now, life is manageable but requires constant dietary vigilance and medical support. In times of crisis, people can quickly get dehydrated and malnourished, so need to have a low they need to have more medical intervention, more close diagnosis, or close monitoring. Your small bowel. I mean, I'm just full of spare parts, apparently. This organ's primary job is to further digest food and absorb nutrients. Now, removing a small section, up to 2/3, often causes minimal issues, but if a large portion is gone and one is left with less than a yard, it can manifest short gut syndrome. Now, this condition, again, it really dumps the food too quickly for your body to absorb the nutrients and can lead to bloating, dehydration, a lot of, just problems with that. Your colon. Again, people can live you get a colostomy, and actually it's not terrible. They're pretty easy to maintain and use. Part of the large intestine, the colon is the final stop in the digestive system absorbing water. Without it, you're looking at frequent, often, loose bowels. But it is manageable with, diet and antidiarrheal medications, but it is a permanent shift. Now, many doctors just do an ostomy bag, which is basically you get a bag just like this, and it's, really quite much simpler than I assumed it would be, having a close family member that had one. Apparently, your anus is also something you don't need. Again, it's just you do have to get a different kind of bag, a different kind of ostomy or a stoma. So it does, require medical adaptive equipment, but you can live without it. And apparently your esophagus, then urinary bladder. Well, mine has been beat up a lot. Uh, but if it's partially removed, you can still function fairly good, I guess. And then your lung, you know, now losing a lung means that your breathing capacity will be permanently reduced, but the body is able to adapt, making the lung work harder, but your physical limits will change as well. While the remaining lung works harder and is often compensating remarkably, intense physical activity is more challenging and can lead to lifelong shortness of breath when you're exerting. Boosh, yeah, I mean, I was kind of impressed with all of the changes and how simple it was to maintain when I had to help a family member with it because I was honestly very ignorant about exactly what needed to happen, but I was really kind of amazed at how simple the whole process was. So it was interesting just to learn about it and be able to help a family member when they needed it. They wouldn't let me keep my fallopian tubes when I got my tubes tied, cut, and burned. You think them fallopian tubes have seen some ish. I will be making my macaroni, plaque one day as a representation. I don't even know what to say about this. Police pop pistol packing penny perpetrator. Who the hell steals? Did this man steal all of the give a penny, take a penny? Like, how much of a dick do you need to be to do that? Well, I mean, a pretty big one. Angered that a 7-Eleven clerk would not accept a large amount of pennies as payment for items, a woman, that's a woman? That's a woman, y'all. That's a woman. Uh, Trashed the Florida convenience store and then, with a force multiplier in hand, threatened to shoot the employee. Now, according to police, the suspect entered the 7-Eleven in Melbourne around 1:30 a.m. yesterday and proffered dirty, grimy pennies. Now, when the clerk said that amount was too much for the store to take in pennies, the customer became enraged. Now, the suspect, who was recorded by store surveillance, began throwing and pushing items off the counter at the clerk while also threatening to take the life of the employee. It's totally stable move. After leaving the store, the woman returned with a pair of firearms and indicated that she was going to shoot the clerk. The 7-Eleven worker suffered minor injuries during the confrontation but did not require medical treatment. Now, the customer fled the scene in a white vehicle, possibly a Toyota Camry. Police released photos of the suspect seen above and her car in seeking the public's help in identifying the woman. Now, after distributing images, Orlando police reported that they had the suspect in custody on unrelated charges. Uh, a ding- Idkemi Ayani, a 20-year-old convicted felon, was arrested Wednesday afternoon after allegedly pointing a gun at another woman during a street dispute. Now, a search of her white Nissan Sentra, or look, whatever, or Sentra, she was, turned up a 38 caliber force multiplier, a BB gun, and a hat cut to be a ski mask, along with two pairs of gardening style gloves. An arrest affidavit makes no mention of the stash of pennies. While they seized items, cops contended that possibly the two were linked to robberies. Now, she copped to the ownership of the hat and gloves, but offered a more innocent explanation. She said that the mask was used as a Smex toy for her and her girlfriend. She is an Orlando resident charged with aggravated assault with a firearm and booked to Orange County Jail on a felony count. Now, court records show that she was convicted last year of carrying a concealed firearm, a felony. She also has, well, collars for drunk driving, devil's lettuce possession, battery, possession of a controlled substance, and driving with a suspended license. This woman has never had her passport booked in like the town of Do Right. Like if it was between Goofus and Gallant in the Highlights magazine, she is always the Goofus. And if you understood that reference, thank you for enjoying and validating my childhood. In our final story, and then I'm going to send you over to Baker because it looks like he is covering Krusty's court date, which will be all levels of, I'm sure, Canton hilarity. Well, it was a little bit extra at IHOP, I guess. An IHOP waitress has been charged with customer groping, as you do. An IHOP waitress sexually harassed a female customer and rubbed the 51-year-old woman's breast back arm after sitting next to her in a restaurant booth, according to police who arrested her for battery. Now, investigators allege that Allie Mae Wright, a 26-year-old server at a Florida IHOP, was waiting on the patron when she began to call the victim a sexy C word and gave her a milkshake that was not ordered. Wright, cops charged, would return to the table and continued to call her a sexy cahoot. She then sat next to the victim and began to rub the victim on the back, the outside of her arm, and then like the side boobular area, according to arrest affidavits. The victim did not know the defendant, did not give her permission to touch her, reported cops, who added that this all happened at 8 p.m. at IHOP, as one does. Seen above, Wright was arrested for battery and booked into the county jail on a misdemeanor charge. Now, she was released on $250 bond after spending a night in custody, and he has ordered the St. Petersburg resident to have no contact with the victim. Now, the arrest affidavit indicates that cops detected an indication of alcohol influence with regard to Wright. It is unclear that if she still works at the IHOP. No idea, but I guess, the International House of Pancakes, well, if you're, hot enough, you might get you might get shakes you didn't even order. Well, there you go, guys. There is some of the wacky, wild, and headline news that you guys probably need to go, along with a bit of the true crime. I am going to look up that media conference and put that up for tomorrow, and I'm sending you over to Baker. He is looking at, I think, oh gosh, Christy Peters. I don't know her real name other than Krusty Panties. I feel terrible, but it is what it is. Have a lovely day. Thank you all so much for joining me on your Saturday morning. Remember, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, but have a sassy mouth and carry a can of bitch fire because you never know when you're going to be groped at an IHOP. And things I never thought I'd say for 800, Alex. Bye, you guys.